I saw, I think it was Anderson Cooper, 360, and Cornel West was on there, and he said something that I want you guys to hear, and I want to like have some dialogue about. He addressed obviously the issue of Ralph Nader, what he needs to do, but he got into a broader context of white supremacy. Because white supremacy is not it's not directed, or it's not primarily in we think white supremacy, we think Ku Klux Klan outfits, we think hanging and lynching and segregation and slavery and those things, but he talks about it in the context of everything he's talking about everything that minimizes or marginalizes groups, the LGBT community, women, anything that marginalizes Palestine. He kind of puts it in the larger context of how we need to battle that, like the way, like it's easy to look at someone in a Klan outfit and blackface and say, oh, you're not right, you're racist. That's an easy thing. But it's not easy to call out racism when you see a country being, occupied and oppressed, or when you see someone that's of the LBGTQ community being harassed or beat and things like that. The obvious is easy. You don't need heart to do the obvious, but the hard work is when you can look underline. And he kind of put moderate Democrats on blast, saying, you guys voted him in office. Why? Bernie Sanders went and sponsored, the guy that was running against him, during the primary. I mean, not during the primary, but yeah, during the primary. Like, there was a progressive candidate that you guys didn't even look at, but you voted him in the office. Like, what did that? And now you guys trying to get him out because this overtly, like, you didn't see that before, and you had. Angela Rye also brought up the fact that, I guess they have sample ballots before a candidate runs, and how Ralph Nader didn't put his black lieutenant governor on the ballot, on the sample ballot. What does that say about who that man is? And that's kind of what he was saying. He said, Black Money said gentrification is something harder to talk about. What happens because of gentrification, or what happens when gentrification happens, the process and how it pushes out poor people, and specifically poor people of color. Like, those things are not addressed at all, really. No one really talks about gentrification in Congress and things like that. That's something that you really don't want to touch, because it's not blackface. It's not something you can just see and go against. Like, that doesn't take courage to go against blackface, is kind of what the guy was saying. I did say Ralph Northam. Did I say Ralph Nader? My bad, Ralph Northam.
Joining us now is Cornel West, professor of the practice of public philosophy at Harvard University and professor emeritus at Princeton. Dr. West, it's always good to have you. Should the governor resign?
Always good. Well, I think that he has a very weak argument in staying, and so I think he probably does have to go. But I think we got to put this in the larger context, my brother, that the ugly legacy of white supremacy takes a number of different forms. The Klan's one form, blackface is another, decrepit housing's another, poverty rates disproportionate black, brown, and red's another, unemployment, underemployment is another. When we talk about white supremacy, we can't just fetishize one individual and then trash that individual. It's too easy. It's too self-righteous. It doesn't take too much courage to come down on somebody who's in blackface and wants to dance like Michael Jackson, or ends up with this on this page, whether it's him or not, and that's still an important fact. Unfortunately, he is a product of this vicious white supremacist culture, and he can change. He does not have to be a racist for life. He can end up being a strong anti-racist. That was 35 years ago. So it's not a question of whether he himself is going to not either be in office or not be in office. This is a larger tradition. And how do we fight white supremacy? no matter what color we are. I'm concerned about the quality of his soul and life after he leaves. This is what First Baptist brothers and sisters in Capeville are concerned about. He doesn't have to remain locked into this racist perception. He can do a whole host of things that can show the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. and Fannie Lou Hamer mean something to him, that the legacy of Ann Braden means something to him. But I'm a little disturbed, my brother, about these liberal centrist Democrats who can trash his brother so easily when they just supported him a few months ago. I see Brother Bernie Sanders supported his progressive candidate, right? The same person they're trashing, they supported. Well, where's the principle? Where's morality? Where's integrity? Where's an acknowledgement that white supremacy is shot through all of us, including black people? That's how deep it cuts in this nation. And who's going to fight for it? How you going to fight for it? That's what we need to talk about as much as just trashing his brother and kicking him when he's down. Whites, brown, a whole host of people ought to be just as morally outraged as black people. The same is true with black people, and other people are trashed in this regard. Jews in France, Palestinians under occupation. Tibet, it's a moral, spiritual issue. We dumb down the whole discussion if it's just a matter of liberal self-righteousness in the name of black people being offended, trashing this white brother. White supremacy must be hated. White supremacy must be trashed. But the question is, how do we attempt to engage in efforts collectively and individually together? None of us escape white supremacy, male supremacy, homophobia, transphobia, anti-Semitism, anti-Arab, anti-Palestinian, anti-Muslim. All of these vicious evils are shot through us. And if we can ascend to the moral and spiritual level, this is the legacy of Martin King. This is the legacy of John Coltrane. This is the legacy of Nina Simone. How do we keep that legacy alive? And thank God that we have some kind of context in which we can go beyond just this ugly name calling and finger pointing, because all of us in the end are fallen. All of us in the end are in some sense sinners. And if you're going to do away with all the racist elements and sensibilities, you're not going to have too many people in Congress. You're not going to have too many people on Wall Street. You're not going to have too many people on television.
I wanted to kind of show that video because, let me see some of y'all questions. Someone cover. If you guys have any questions, let me know. But the reason that I wanted to show y'all that video, because to me, I felt it was kind of mirroring what I was saying the other day when I was talking about, I was kind of comparing Tulsi Gabbard to Ralph Northam. And I think he said it well, like people can grow and people do grow. And we have to allow people to grow and we have to acknowledge their growth. And that's a great thing. And bravo to you. Like everyone grows. We all grow. I'm not the same Ty that I was when I was 20. You know, growth is inevitable. Hopefully it's inevitable. If you don't grow, you know, God bless. Something's wrong with you. But that doesn't mean you need to stay in office to grow. I think one of the issues with Northam was it was almost pretentious in its approach, saying I can take the easy way out if I were to step down, but I want to do the hard work by staying here and then being, no, come on, man. Are we stupid? Do you really? You know, and so before his, you know, and everyone says this, and I think there's some truth to it, like before he actually had his press conference, he almost probably could have dealt with this and got and somehow worked through this if he were to kind of do what he did the night before by saying, this is me taking, you know, complete like accountability and saying, hey, I've grown. This is in 1984, you know, and even in 1984 wasn't right, but I was still ignorant, doing some dumb stuff, and I did it, and I regret it, and I apologize. And, you know, if that would have happened, then, you know, we probably would be having a completely different conversation. But you look at that, and you look at the fact, like I said earlier, about, you know, when they had the sample ballot in Virginia, how he did not have his lieutenant governor on there who is black. You know, that all says something, and you have to look at those things, because those, you know, your actions mean something. Policy means something. And you can change and grow and not be in office. And that's the argument I was saying about Tulsi Gabbard. Like, yes, you had those views and you can grow and you were voted into office, but being voted into office in a district is different from being voted into office on the national stage. Being voted to be voted into the presidency of the United States. There's a lot more opinions of your actions. You know, there's a lot more opinions. There's a lot more you have to do, and there's a lot more you have to, you know, a lot more people you're accountable to now. So, and they're going to judge you based on that, and that's just the reality. So that's kind of what I was trying to say when I was comparing the two. Like, you know, you have to face the consequences of those actions, and they're deplorable. You know, either way you look at it, it's something that by Tulsi Gabbard that, you know, there's a difference between, I don't know. I guess it's probably difficult to differentiate the two from saying something isn't right in God's eyes, but they're still human and we still love them, versus like, no, you ain't nothing. You're trying to go against us. You know, she had a whole lot of rhetoric and kind of belittling the LGBT community. And to me, it didn't fly well. And I'm super sensitive to that, obviously, because I'm black and I understand those tactics and how those tactics were used to justify, you know, black codes and Jim Crow and segregation. You know, the Bible would be used to then justify that, being unevenly yoked, like I said, means that we shouldn't be together. And so to propagate this ideology of white supremacy and the same ideas based on these Christian, that's supposed to be bringing people together, dividing people, ideologies, you know, and you have to live with that. You have to live with that. You grow from that, you know. And I think that he'll be better outside of the office because, like you said, you can't govern. There's too many distractions. If it's about the Commonwealth of Virginia, then you should step down because the Commonwealth thinks you're a distraction right now.